So hello and welcome to the next episode of the Champ.ie podcast covering the National Hunt season as we move forward to this weekend where we have a classic card at Wincanton. Then we'll also look at the Irish action at Naas on Saturday. It was an exciting card there, and then on to Navan on Sunday. We're delighted to be joined again by Colm Finlay from BetXS, who's on the podcast again. Himself and Sadie Robin Deschamps Finlay, who I think is in the background there, Colm.
Yeah, two of us been studying the form all day. I think Sadie was giving me some pointers what to do, but we're in good order here, so we are.
100%. Another Mead man again, Ronan Groome from the Irish Field. Good evening, Ronan.
How are you, Barry? Yeah, good to be on.
Great to have you back. Thomas Kyle actually is beginning his management career in football tonight, so he's not with us as Blackhall Gales take the under-21 action. So we have a new member of the podcast, Andrew Blair White from the Blair White blog, a journalist in Dublin as well. And Andrew, you come from Foxrock, County Dublin. We had to balance the books here.
Yeah, exactly. Get a Dublin man in. So just down the road from Leopardstown. So that's my local, just a stone's throw away. So very happy to be on.
Stone's throw away, and I'd say Christmas is an exciting time in your house. It's probably only down the road, is it?
Oh yes, a little 10-minute walk. So the 26th to the 29th is a no-go zone for me anywhere socially apart from Leopardstown, to be honest.
Yeah, hopefully you'll serve it. You're an Irish cricket fan as well, I believe.
Yeah, no, always been into my cricket, so I've been getting a bit of work done with Cricket Ireland this summer as well, so that was good fun, but probably a good time to get involved. It's as big as it's probably ever been.
Well, I've my Carlo GA jersey on for the podcast this time. So, lads, listen, we'll crack on with the podcast. Eye catchers, I suppose, from the last week in racing. I was at Down Royal last week. We obviously were covering Down Royal on the podcast last week. Colm, I'll come to you first. I suppose, what caught your eye over the last week? It doesn't have to be at Down Royal, but in the week in racing.
Oh, well, there was plenty to get stuck into there over last weekend. Sure, no better place to start than at County Meath. Man, I thought Gordon Elliott had a fine couple of days there at Down Royal. Namely, the champion bumper horse, Envoy. I thought he was very, very impressive. Especially he hurled like a collie on the hurdles. He was just very, very quick over them. Where else? I thought Curse Sublime again, another Gordon Elliott horse. He didn't have a whole lot to beat. And perhaps maybe the fact of his wide winning margin would probably have you looking at the horses behind to say they're not so good. Would have got more credit by like 8 or 9 lengths, and then you could have said, well, this form stacks up. But of course, the blinds and everything you could ask from as well. And there is a team there over 2 miles of that championship level in Ireland, and we're looking for a few horses to step into that kind of mark. And I think Curse Sublime raised his hand there. He's probably put himself at the top of the order from a Gordon Elliott perspective for the champion hurdle. So I thought he was pretty good as well.
Yeah, one of the best workhorses home. We were probably spoke enough about Course Sublime last week. Andrew, anything for you over the last week?
Top two that probably would go a bit under the radar was A Wave of the Sea for Joseph O'Brien. He looks like he's going to go down the kind of classic juvenile route. He's probably going to go to the Grade 3 in Ferry House on Haddon's Grace Day. We'll go on to the Grade 2 at Leopardstown over Christmas, I'd say. He probably might find a bit too much at Grade 1 level, but it was probably his best jumping performance on Saturday and looked impressive. Again, probably didn't beat much, but did it well. And also just down at Cork, the Getaway Star winning the bumper for Declan Queenie was very good. Even Getaway Gorgeous of Willie Mullins, and Getaway Gorgeous had been second in the list of bumper at Gorn a couple of weeks ago. I think that was a strong enough race. So it was good to see her back up the performance she put up, I think, at Ferry House at the end of last season. She's probably handy enough going forward.
Lovely. Ronan, what about for you? Anything that caught your eye over the last week?
Well, you already know I'm a big Real Steel fan, so that was easily my highlight. Yeah, though I wouldn't be getting carried away, but I think he did it quite well. He produced the fastest comparative time on the day at Down Royal, actually a comparatively faster time than, or a better time than Road to Respect. That's partly because they went so fast up front there, Secret Investor and Mengley Khan, but just thought he stayed the trip really nicely off the back of that, and it allowed him to put up a really big performance. I think he needs to go right-handed, so I don't know, maybe something like King George might be up his alley, and Willie's not too fond of sending him over to that, but I think he needs a right-handed course, so that might come into the plans for him. But I thought it was a good start to the season for him.
Yeah, I thought it was a good performance. Real Steel, obviously, he was ridden very quietly, but I thought the interesting thing about Real Steel's performance was, I suppose, after the last, he had the race completely tied up, but Townend, he wasn't easy on him, so he obviously wanted to maybe ensure that I suppose the stamina was there. But really pushed him out towards the line. He was not a bit easy on him. Yeah. Could have eased him down. I just thought it was interesting, especially over the trip. Like, he really kept him up to his work. So I'd say going up in distance, you could be onto a winner there, Ronan.
Maybe, yeah. Well, see, you all laughed at me at the start of the season, so we'll see.
I didn't laugh at you. I said I wouldn't knock any man for putting up 100 to 1 shot. Vindication.
If you go back and listen to the first podcast where we all did, there was laughs on
maybe so, yeah. I just forgot that. Here, listen, lads. One other horse, actually. Andrew, you spoke about the getaway horses. This sire's beginning to get a bit of a name for himself. Sporting John of Philip Hobbs's. He was running in Exeter, a big reputation. Obviously, came from the point-to-point field. Won at Boris House and was bought for a big figure of 160,000. Drifted like a barge pole before the off. Your typical JP McManus coming from point to points. Generally, probably take a run or two before we see the best of them. This fella was given an easy time of it and still managed to win. I don't know that any of you guys see that at Exeter. Thought it was a very smart performance, showed a lovely turn of foot. It's 33 to 1 now for some of the bigger novice races. He's short as 20 to 1 for some of the big novice races in the spring. But I thought he was an interesting one maybe to keep an eye on. We could see a much better horse, I think, next time. Lads, look, we'll crack on with the week ahead. Wincanton, the elite hurdle. One of my champion hurdle horse at this point in the season. I suppose I stuck a pin down on Fusel Raffles. Colm Finlay, is he a champion hurdle contender in your eyes? You opened up at 6 to 4. First show for the Andy Boss betting for the elite, backed into 4 to 6. So he's flip flopped. What do you think?
Yeah, well, look, I was actually having a read through the Nicky Henderson stable tour there, and I was kind of comparing what he said between Fusel Raffles and the other horse that beat Curse Sublime in the time for, what's the name of the horse again? Pentland's Cross.
Hills, yeah.
He fitted in the word champion hurdle about 3 or 4 times into his couple of sentences on Fusel Raffles, and that word was kind of conspicuously absent from his talk about Pentland Cross. The horse is fairly lightly raced. If you were to go in a straight line through Fakir Duaries, you'd probably say you still think he's got about 5 or 6 lengths to find versus Black Supreme. He's lightly raced. He's done nothing wrong so far. If he's going to be kind of considered in that category, he really should be putting these away this weekend in the lead hurdle. And honestly, I probably think he will.
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll take a lot of beating. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I'd be echoing Colm's thoughts there, to be honest. If he'd be wanting to win this pretty cozy, to be honest. Didn't look a race that had too much depth. Doubt Kel Destin will run. That seems to be the vibes. So Grand Sancy is probably the only danger to him. It should be a bit of a penalty kick if he's wound up in any way. And as you say, if he wants to become a champion hurdle horse, he'd want to be winning this pretty cozily. But I do think he will. I think he's by far the class act.
I think I know the horse that Ronan Groome is going to tip up here. I don't think it's Fusel Raffles.
I'm not going to tip any horse out. I'm not. I don't. I told you I'm not a big fan of 4-year-olds for the champion hurdle. I think Fusel Raffles will probably win this race, but it wouldn't. Yeah. It wouldn't really put him in the forefront of my mind for the champion hurdle. Even if he did, I suppose he'd have to be quite impressive to get anybody excited about beating this lot. Grand Sancy I backed last year for the Supreme, and he won over this course and distance. He actually won in open company. So he was interesting, but he looked well held at Kempton when he fell at the last. The Patriot is interesting, I suppose. He's in the Greatwood next week as well. I think Fusel Raffles will probably win, but would I be that interested in him for a champion hurdle? Probably not yet. So we'd have to be very impressive to come into my mind for the champion, I'd say.
It's just two runs. Yeah, fair enough. 2 runs I thought last year. Two graded wins. After coming from Macaire in France, to do that he must be a decent enough horse.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, he's so unexposed and he's loads of scope to improve. I just think you have to be so good as a 4-year-old. And I know Espoir Dalan won last year, but I just thought that was a weird race. As we said, we talked about it already, but you just have to be such a 4-year-old to win, or a 4-year-old going on 5-year-old to win a champion hurdle.
Just on that though, he's not your typical flatbred. Coming from the flat, with plenty of mileage on the clock. Like if you look at Fussel Raffles, we'll move on to the next race now as quick as we can. But if you look at Fussel Raffles by Saint de Sans, which is a top national hunt sire in France. I think there is, as you said, there's plenty of room for improvement with him this year, and just one here, Beat the Ballot. I thought he had Grandstand C well covered. So if you were looking at potentially opposing the favourite here, I think to be quite honest with you, he's 140. He's up to 140 after that. I think he could be each way at 12-1 for the Moors.
That's Beat the Judge, is it?
Say it again.
Beat the Judge, is it?
Beat the Judge. Sorry, yes, yes. So the next race is the Rising Star Novice. Silviniaco, Conti, Frodan, Wonderful Charm, Modus, all won this for Paul Nichols. Andrew, what are you thinking for this?
I think it's similar enough, to be honest, to the previous race. I'd say Reserve Tank's probably the likeliest winner, but I wouldn't be going in on him, to be honest. I thought he looked so. Jarvis Plate's not a bad horse, but he's not going to be winning anything come March, I don't think.
Yeah.
Race, I'd be having a little each way punt on Byron Flyer at around 14s for the Williams Yard. He's 2 from 2 on fences. Got race experience. He was a good flat horse, good hurdle horse. Now seems to be all right over as well. I'm probably short of this grade, but as I say, I wouldn't be going in full hog on Reserve Tank, certainly after that effort at Chepstow.
I was going to ask you, what did you make of that performance at Chepstow? I suppose he probably wasn't fully wound up for it.
Yeah, but I suppose Tizard's brought similar type of horses there before and they haven't been wound up and they still ended up winning. I thought when he was headed by Jarvis Plate, he was kind of mucking around a bit. And I don't think his novice hurdle form last year was quite as brilliant as it looks. I think like at Punchestown, obviously City Island had completely bombed out by the end of the season. So I'm not sure whether that race was as good a race perhaps as people are trying to make it. But, he's got heaps of improvement to come from that run. So I still think he probably will take this race. But as I say, I'd be waiting to see him put round.
Yeah, just as I mentioned the Nichols record in the race. If you say run, like your 7-year-old Ronan, does she come into your radar for this one?
Yeah, absolutely. I think she's got a good chance, and the Nichols record in the race is quite prevalent. The one interesting, I kind of agree with everything's been said already about Reserve Tank. I think you could question the novice form of last season, but he's got heaps of improvement and he probably is going to make a better chaser and obviously deserves to be favourite. The one that I thought was half interesting was Vision de Flow for Tizard. Yeah, this time last year he fell on his day, or he unseated, I think, on his debut over fences, and they jacked in the fences for the year and just kept him over hurdles. He's 6-year-old now. It's just interesting if they chuck him in here in a grade 2, considering that. So I'm not actually sure he's going to run. But Tizard, I just watch him at this meeting. I'm pretty sure Wincanton is quite close to where he trains. And he's got a few chances in the Badger Ales or the Badger Beers, as we will talk about in a bit. And he was just interesting. It'd be very interesting if he showed up. As for a tip in the race, I don't have a huge opinion, I'm afraid.
No, fair enough. I'd say we'll move on now to the Badger Beers straight away, Ronan. Have you had a look at this handicap? White Moon was unlucky when going well the last time. It's a horse, I suppose, with plenty of talent. Did you take a look at this one, the handicap?
Yeah. White Moon's I might talk you through the first few in the market because White Moon is favourite. I think he's around a 5-1 chance. He was probably going to win the last day, and just tipped up at the last. That's good course form. He's quite a to that, so I think he deserves to be favourite. Present man is there for Briney and Paul again. Won the race the last 2 years in a row. You'd have to respect him. He's just not in the best of form at the end of last season. So just a slight question. But obviously been training to the minute for this race. You had the likes of Give Me Copper, also for Paul Nichols, and Cloth Cap, who ran okay at Chepstow in the race Ballyofter. The one I just thought was quite interesting was a horse in Nigel Hawkes there called Johannes. For the life of me, he's ran second on his seasonal debut there at Chepstow behind the horse called Trucker's Lodge. He's only rated 125, Johannes, but he ran in between two horses rated 140 and 133 and didn't actually get put up in the handicap. I don't know if I've missed something here or I'm just gone completely mad, but he just looks well handicapped now off a mark of 125. I believe it's going to absolutely chuck it down at Wincanton on Saturday. There's no rain. The ground's actually good at the moment, but they're due for about 18 mils through Friday night to Saturday. So I think it could end up soft, which I think he handled fine. He won twice on heavy ground. He's really lightly raced, horse in Nigel Hawkes. And if he's declared for this, I'd be very interested. I just think it's strange that he wasn't moved up in the handicap. And off a mark of 125, he's even £4 lower than his hurdles mark. He's just really interesting. So that'd be the one I'd be siding with at the moment.
Johannes, interesting one. You're walking a mill, actually. You mentioned him last week, is in here as well.
Yeah, they've come here instead, and I'd have him on side as well if he's going to be declared. I'm obviously just going to wait for declarations more and have a look. But everything remains the same with him. His run in the national was huge. Running against horses that were well in the top five. He was one of only two horses in the top five that was running off his actual mark.
Yeah.
He's won at Wincanton. He's won fresh. He go on soft ground. So yeah, I'll be looking at him as well if he's declared.
Andrew, what did you come down on?
I was looking to take on the few at the top of the market. To be honest, I remember last year White Moon fell at the last novice race on his reappearance, and his jumping got a bit windy after that for a few runs. So I'd be tempered by that, to be honest. I was actually quite keen on Rock the Casbah at 14s until I saw the forecast. Because if it goes bog like I don't think he'll have a chance. But if it was on better ground, I thought he had a squeak. And I thought Achille for Phoenicia Williams. Obviously, her horses are renowned to be good in these sort of conditions. This horse was 3 from 5 last year. Was quite consistent, quite progressive as well. Likes to pop out in front. Usually quite a good jumper, and will stay very well. So if the ground turns up quite soft, I think 14 could be a big enough price for him.
Fair enough. Colm Finlay, did you get a chance to have a look at this big handicap? Did you get your teeth into it?
Look, I wouldn't say I sunk my teeth too deeply into it, but the one thing I would point out from a betting perspective is there is a couple of quid coming for Give Me a Copper. I think initially he was priced up as being a bigger price than Present Man, but I think those two will flip-flop in terms of the betting. That Give Me Copper could even go off favour. I wouldn't even rule that possibility out. Look, to be honest with you, I didn't give that race a good tour going over, but I do know there's a couple of quid for that Give Me Copper, and that could be one for the customers to look out for over the weekend.
Perfect. Well, we'll move on to the Irish racing, lads. I suppose if you had a choice to go on racing this weekend, Ronan Groome, where would you go? Would you go to Naas or would you go to Navan?
I'd go to Navan. I'll always go to Navan. It's my home track.
Always go to Navan. I'm thinking of going myself on Sunday. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Well, I might see you there then, Barry.
What are you going up, are you?
I'll go to it. Yeah. I love Navan in the winter is my bread and butter, yeah. So I'll be there, please God.
That's a date. So you better have the coffee waiting because I'm driving.
Come back.
Right, sure. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll look at Naas first. JP McManus seems to have it by the balls, lads. My Delaro seems to be. Ronan, I'll actually ask you because you might know. This is interesting. Delaro, who is who's in the ownership of a man who's used to, I suppose, having Melbourne Cup winners for Joseph O'Brien. Is it Lloyd Williams? Is it?
Lloyd Williams, yeah.
Yeah, and this horse has changed ownership in the last couple of days to McManus. He's a couple entered in the maiden hurdle. Andy Dufresne, Delaro, and Blue Cerise also entered. Could you tell us? Do you know anything about Delaro's change?
I know you're going to ask me. I have no clue. It's just, why he's running for JP now. Yeah, it's quite strange.
What's your opinion on that? You don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a funny one though. I presume you watched the Melbourne Cup on Tuesday.
No, I saw you set your alarm though.
Oh, I absolutely loved the race. I was down there 2 years ago. Anyway, I don't know the situation with Delaro and what's going on there, but it was a strange thing in the first place for Lloyd Williams to fork out £410,000 on a point-to-pointer when he down in Australia and buying Melbourne Cup winners. So.
He looks to have a couple of exciting novices. The first one, obviously, Andy Dufresne has entered. He's also in Navan, so we don't know what way declarations are going to go. Of these, which one? I'm trying not to be disrespectful to the rest of the runners, but these look three seriously good horses on bumper form.
So yeah, you're talking about Andy Dufresne, Delaro, and what's the other one?
And Blue Cerise. Which will be the best by the end of the season, in your humble opinion?
I kind of like to let them run. They're all, to me, they're all just like promising horses going hurdling now. Blue Cerise, a serious turn of foot, didn't he, in that bumper? I think wasn't it Gorham Park? He's the horse that won on Tiestes Day, Blue Cerise.
He's the one that won on Tiestes Days. Yeah, it was a very impressive performance, and he went second favourite for the bumper, and I thought for a stride or two he was going to get up and be in Vialan in that champion bumper last year. What's your thoughts on I suppose the JP battalion that centred up at Naas Navan on Sunday, Andrew?
They're very good young horses. He's last couple of years he's focused more on those kind of quality rather than quantity. He's trying to get more of those younger pointers in. Personally, out of the three, I just think Andy Dufresne is the big one to take out of it. Gordon seems to absolutely love him. He was brilliant on his debut last year. Now it's similar enough to Delaro. You know, you're winning normal enough bumper. Like, there wasn't any great shakes to it, but it's just the overall presence of him and the way he's regarded. Like, he's interested in this year. Blue Cerise, I just thought will be a 2-miler, even though Mullins keeps going on that he's probably going to go over 2-4. He looked as you said, he looked a speed horse. He looked like he had a great turn of foot last year. Probably just lost the bumper and also and it's just a very hard horse to pass. So they're quality horses to have for JP. I'm sure he's licking his lips looking at these. You know, there's three there, as you mentioned, that could be three brilliant horses going forward.
Yeah, I just thought the change of ownership of Delaro was a bit odd. I suppose he was one of my horses to follow for the season. I thought his bumper win at Punchestown was exceptional. Also, obviously, he came into the race after winning a point-to-point and sold for a big fee, but had his problems, I think, in the lead-up. Eventually got him to the track. I thought it was an unbelievable performance, really, and.
I was going to say that I do feel like the JP has kind of somewhat echoing what Andrew just said there, that he's changed his strategy a small, where he does seem to be buying a better horse. I'm kind of going, is it something to do with Joseph O'Brien? Does he look into the eyes of Joseph O'Brien and get flashbacks to a young Aidan O'Brien, 1996, standing in the Cheltenham Parade Ring or something like that, and it's just he's getting memories and he wants to be back in that moment again, but he just seems to be buying better horses again, especially with kind of maiden hurdles in mind. And look, there's a few good ones entered this weekend. I think Ronan was mentioned there. I think that that Blue Cerise and this NYLN, these clash again in the Doyle Bond at Ferryhouse in December. And I tell you, we're looking like we're going to have a quality card that day at Ferryhouse in our local track. I know Andrew was saying the Leopardstown will also be good at Christmas now, but I'm definitely keeping my fingers crossed that we'll have a great cracking day's racing there at Ferryhouse that day.
Need to come to Goran on Red Mills Day. That's what you need.
Absolutely.
Back to the home venue. Listen.
Yesterday's day, surely.
Well, Maybe. That Thursday, it's hard to get it off work though, isn't it? Anyway, listen, it's alright for you. You can just drop down and do another article for the field of a Saturday. Anyway, listen, Apple's Jade. She starts off in the Liz Mullen hurdle once again, lads. I know you were on side with her last year for the majority of the season, Ronan. Expectations for 2019-2020?
She'll probably win on Sunday, and she'll probably win the Hatton's Grace, and then I'll just write off the rest of the season after that, basically.
Right. Is there anything more to discuss on Apple's Jade? Only she's an absolute flop when she comes to Cheltenham.
Oh, I don't even want to discuss the subject, to be honest, because it just brings back bad memories. It's a horrible nightmare of a situation of watching a horse that you're on at serious 3-figure prices and watching her jump the second hurdle right in front of you and looking around to your cousin and saying, "That's it, good night and God bless," because she wasn't going a yard in the champion hurdle. So I love her. I love the mare. I think she'll win on Navan and she'll win the Hatton's Grace. She could win by 20 lengths again, but I'll be leaving it from there, to be honest, I think.
Is there anything to be said for her? Obviously, you have the whole she's better in the first half of the season, whatever, but is there anything to be said for her actually stepping up in trip completely? Like, I never thought she was a champion hurdle horse myself. Colm, what do you think of her way of going? Does she strike you as a champion hurdle horse if she turned up absolutely fit and ready on the day?
I couldn't really have her at this stage. I find myself saying this about an awful lot of horses, but she kind of reminds me of a kind of a modern day beef or salmon. Just we'll mop up this time of the year, but once Cheltenham comes along, she's going to go missing. And look, I can feel the pain, or I could hear the pain in the customers when it came to last year. Talking about her trip, there was a kind of slight shift in her running last year. 3 miles and just dropped her down to 2 mile of Leopardstown in February. And she was really impressive that day, and that's what got the champion hurdle juices flowing. But I think maybe, like a lot of Jiggins Hen horses, probably the longer trip might be suiting her. And look, I certainly wouldn't be going back to champion hurdle route now at this stage. And I'd be slightly worried now that she could go back to 2 miles again for that race again in Leopardstown, given how impressive she was this year. And if she was to come along there and beat the likes of a Classical Dream or a Curse Sublime, you'd just be kind of going, you're a real fucking party pooper there. Why'd you come along and do that? Let those novices lay down the trout for the throne for the champion hurdler and go off and do your own thing. You're not going to land a blow at Cheltenham.
Yeah, they need to give her a box beside Sam Crow in a balcony. Hey, come here. So the next one we're going to look at is the 4-3 Chase. Some serious entries here. Andrew, I know you're a big Duvan fan. He's entered up here. Will Mullins declare him? Well, you're not going to. I'm not sure if you're going to know the answer to that, but. Say it again. He has Min, Duvan, Duke de Geneva. They're all obviously Duke de Geneva's in at Naas as well, but can he come back to his best, in your opinion?
I'd love to hope so. I think realistically, like, I know Mullins is. I saw in the Racing Post the other day he was trying to play it down that he'd never get back to his best and stuff like that. I'm just glad to see him back entered, to be honest, because he was one of the best horses I've ever seen, certainly live. And if he was to come back, it would be brilliant. If he was to come back, I'll be joining you lads at Navan on Sunday, to be honest. I wouldn't be missing it. If he is back even, I think, obviously, I think Mullins has 4 in it. Only one of them will run in it. So in my eyes, whichever one he declared, I think would win the race, to be honest. Whether it was Duvan, Min, Duke de Geneva, a great field, I think they'd all have a very good chance, because I don't think any of them would run against each other. But Duvan, I'd just love to see him get some sort of crack at it this season. And if he's back to his best, brilliant. If he's not, then they'll probably retire him, and we'll all think of what might have been.
100%, yeah. It'd be great to see him back on the track. Saw a lovely shot of him actually in the Willie Mullins Stable Tour. Gorgeous looking horse, Duvan. I think, was it you, Ronan Groome, that was a fan of Hardline last year? See, he's entered up here for this as well, the 4-3. Yeah, it's probably likely he might go here. Is it for the home team, Gordon Elliott?
I'd imagine he might go for the what's it called, the Poplar race at Naas on Saturday. That's like it's a second season novice race, so
It's a great thing, yeah.
I'd imagine Duke de Geneva will go for that race as well, because you get to run against last season's yeah, look, I don't know. You don't know what Willie's going to run. As I said already, I'm a big Min fan, but he went for the John Durkin first time up last season, so that might be where he goes. Again, everyone would love to see Douvan show up and run and win. Whether he can is another question, I guess. But we live in hope. Absolute Hard would be the interesting one, I think. If he turned up, he showed a serious turn of foot at Cheltenham now in the Close brothers winning for Rachel there, and it would just be interesting him back at 2 miles going forward. And but Ballyosheen might be the one who runs here and is just fit enough. He's a course and distance winner. He could be interesting as well, but I suppose you're kind of guessing with the entries at the moment who's actually going to show up.
Yeah, we're just in terms of Min, obviously Champion Chase last year, I thought he was very good at entry when he stepped up to 2.5 miles. Just interesting he's entered here. I probably suspect that he would skip here, maybe start off this year at 2.5. That's just a thought of mine. But yeah, that's the 4-3. It looks to be an exceptional race. Even if 4 or 5 of them turned up, as you said, for this one. So moving on then, lads, to I suppose the showdown between 6-shooter and Abracadabras. Tom isn't here to defend himself. Ronan, 6-shooter. Is this where you're going to Navan on Sunday? Tell me.
Yeah, I'll be going for a few pints probably more than anything else. But yeah, 6-shooter. I'm a big fan, as I said before in an earlier podcast. Noel Mead gave me this one. I didn't even ask him for it, and he gave it to me. Won twice last season, 2 nice bumpers, beat the Big Getaway and Soviet Pimpernel. Soviet Pimpernel, we've all seen what he's done this season. Peter Fahey absolutely loves that horse. Ran huge at Cheltenham at the showcase meeting. And 6-shooter started off his career over hurdles really nicely at Punchestown, beat a horse who had race fitness on him and beat him nicely. Rachel got off and said he'll improve seriously for the run. Not surprised at all to see him here. Noel Mead's horses flying. I think he'll go really close, and he could progress into a nice horse this season, a Grade 2, Grade 1 horse maybe. And that'd be my hopes for him anyway.
Andrew, I think you're a 6-shooter fan as well, are you?
Yeah, I'd be echoing a lot of the things. I was actually standing in the snow in Leopardstown, having backed Soviet Pimpernel last year.
Had your Irish cricket scarf on you?
Yes.
In the snow. It's not a sport for the snow, but go on.
But I remember I'd backed Soviet Pimpernel, and he came up on the outside of 6-shooter, and I thought, we're in here, and the horse just shot clear of him by 6-7 lengths. Then you see his Punchestown form beating the Big Getaway. Fury Road was 3rd, and he won by half the track at Down Royal last week as well. So the form is rock solid. And I'm a little bit windy about Abracadabras, to be honest. I'm always those horses, a bit like Mengley Khan, that I know it was a bit unfortunate what happened to him in the bumper at Leopardstown, but a horse that's running through rails is one that I'm not going near anytime soon, to be honest. So I'd be in 6-shooters camp here.
Yeah, I think me too as well. To me, Abracadabras, I know Thomas was saying obviously first time out for a novice at Gordon Park on his hurdles debut. I just thought he was a bit sticky at his hurdles. I know it was just a maiden and he'll obviously improve, but I thought 6-shooter was better. I'd be in his camp. Colm Finlay, did you get a chance? I know you're a Noel Mead fan as well.
To be honest with you, I'm actually kind of not really, because Noel Mead has got myself and Noel have got some Cheltenham history. He's kind of let me down with a few horses before. Everyone knows Noel Mead's publicised travails at Cheltenham Festival. But actually one horse that I kind of like, and a trainer who I'd like to see come back again, because he's been a bit missing for the last 4 or 5 years, is Paul Nolan's latest exhibition. I just think he'd be an interesting ingredient if he were to take his chance in this race as well. But I think one thing we have to factor in here, and as mentioned already, it's been piss and rain here for the last, say, 2 days straight up in this neck of the woods. It's going to be absolutely filthy ground here at Navan, and probably at Naas at the weekend as well there. So kind of when we're plotting our kind of greater Cheltenham schemes, we have to kind of factor that in as well here, that not necessarily horses this weekend might have conditions to kind of ready for winning Cheltenham in springtime. But no, going back to that race, I'm actually looking forward to the run of the latest exhibition. I just said I'm a Paul Nolan fan, and I think he could actually run a good race here.
Fair enough. Latest exhibition for Colm Finlay. Naps for the weekend, lads. We'll come on to that now. We've 5 points to play each. Andrew, I'll come to you first.
I've gone for a speculative 2 points win on Duvan, out of hope more than anything, to be honest. I've got a point win on 6 shooter, and I've got a point each way on Achille at a big price in the Badger Bears.
Brilliant stuff. Ronan Groome?
I'm going to go with Johannes. I hope he gets declared in the morning for the Badger Ales 3:35 at Wincanton. Just think he's interesting. Can I just quickly tell you about one horse that's running in the Fishery Lane at Naas? We didn't actually get onto it. Franco Deport for Willie Mullins. I don't know if you've seen this, Barry, but just real interesting. He won at a toy, and Willie's bought him. And Willie's usually he wouldn't usually buy a horse like this who's won and basically doesn't have a novice campaign. He's a novice basically until the Royal Bond. So he's basically going to have to run an open company then. So he must have shown a lot. I went back and watched his race. He was quite impressive. He won by 13 lengths in a toy. Just think he's very interested in the Fishery Lane. So I'm going to have 2 points on him. And then on Navan on Sunday, my old 6 shooter, I'll have a point on him as well, please.
Your old pal.
That's it.
Right, Colm Finlay. Can I have your spread?
Yeah, I think there's holes to be poked in this reserve tank. I think the lads elaborate on it. I don't think he had the excuses last day. He hit the last one hard, but I think that Jarvis plate was going to get him anyway. So I'm going to take him on. I'm slightly worried I'm going to go fairly heavy here on what could be a non-runner. But that Vision Day flow for Tizard as well. Tizard has come out and said that he doesn't think his horses will need to run this year. They should be ready to go there. And this horse hopefully won't need to run here. He hasn't run since Punchtown last year. And if he does take his chance, I kind of like him mainly because I think the favourite's weak. So I'll go for 2 points each way in him. And then after that, I might give a little word for, I suppose he couldn't really go back. It feels the raffle is going to be very short. I might go for that latest exhibition then against those 2 horses. So hopefully I'll just be sneaking under the radar where everyone looking at Abracadabras here in 6 shooter. That latest exhibition for Paul Nolan might surprise them.
Latest exhibition. Yeah, no, I actually agree with you on Vision to Flow, Colm. Thought he was an interesting horse going back over fences. If he does go here, I thought he would have a chance. But the other horse in this race, I spoke about it earlier on, If You Say Run, she's a lightly raced 7-year-old. I'm going to take on Reserve Tank as well. I'm going to go 2 points win on If You Say Run at 7-2. She has been back from 5-1. And I think she, as I said, she's 140 over hurdles, 140 over fences. I think she's going to reach a higher mark than that. And even though she does I suppose she doesn't get the full mayor's allowance in this one, I'll side with her. And I like 6 shooter as well at Navan on Navan on Sunday. I'll go 2 points win on him. My old friend West Approach in the big handicap at Wincanton. I'll stick a point on him because second last time. That horse is just backed every weekend, isn't he? And if one of these weekends he's going to stick. I think he is well handicapped still. So if West Approach goes there for the Tizards, I'll stick a point, 1 point on him. So that, I suppose, concludes the Champ.ie podcast, looking ahead to Wincanton, Naas and Navan this weekend. Thanks very much for coming on the podcast again, Mr. Ronan Groome. I might see you at Navan on Sunday.
With the help of God. Please God, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you'll have the coffee, but she'll probably be going on the beer when 6 shooter does the business anyway.
Yeah, sure, we might get a pint into you as well when we've chopped it right off.
And is Andrew Blair White coming to join us? Is he?
Well, if two bands there, I'll be replacing the Cricket Ireland scarf with the Rich Richie scarf. So I'll be there as well.
You could do worse. The other thing is, Colm Finlay. You spoke about Navan. Are you gonna make it a full house?
I'll have to see if I can juggle a few things around. But look, if you don't see me at Navan, what you'll do is you will see me on the dance floor of the Palace nightclub later on that night. I'll be there showing my best moves. So Barry, I'll be looking forward to. I'd say you got a nice step now. You're in the Foundry for many a year down there in Carlow, and I'd say you've learned a step or two yourself there. So look, I think that those kind of moves we welcome in the Palace Bar in Navan.
Happy memories of the Palace in Navan from my Dunshaughlin days. That's for sure. How's Lawless's pub going there actually?
I think Decky's getting the plasterboard out, the carpet ready. I think the place is being in at the moment now. So
we'll give John Joe a shout out. What's that?
We might pop in there for a pub crawl if we're going to make our way back from the Palace Bar in Navan. Decky might keep the outdoors open there a bit later than normal.
Of course, how could we forget? What's his name? Who used to come in? He works behind the bar in Lawless's.
Dotsy.
Oh, yeah, Dotsy. He's the local celebrity in Dunshaughlin, County Meath. Anyway, lads, we'll wrap it up. That's the podcast for this week, and we'll see you next Thursday.